Inside Story Uganda, real source of political updates.
Is claimed to have killed police officers in Kiboga, Wakiso, and other places. So there are those who have even declared and accepted that they have been, they are attached to the other rebel group, Coalition for Change. Remember? So such people really cannot be arrested like you are chasing a chicken thief. There are those that you have to use.
When they are shot, they try to resist or not?
Some of them have been shooting police officers, and you are aware. Are you not a Ugandan? So colleagues, I think I have given enough.
Well, frontline. Honorable Yomunsi, that remains an unanswered question. As you get out of office, the Prime Minister said, you have Kibalama. Where is he?
Which Kibalama? There are many Kibalamas.
Noops, Kibalama.
Basically, that was the time when there was this issue of political prisoners, which was just being used for politics. But all those who were arrested, I think we are arraigned before courts of law and charged.
Where is Kibalama?
There are those.
Your Prime Minister said, you have Kibalama.
Which Kibalama? There are many Kibalamas.
The political prisoner, the Noop supporter who was picked in Kalangala, who has gone missing. Actually, his wife even died.
Yeah, even in Kanata, Muhammad.
Some of those so-called prisoners actually were aided by Noop to get out of the country, and many of them are in Canada. In Canada, on Cheyo. I can tell you, I have been to Canada myself, I have seen some of them. But on the specific Kibalama, I have to cross-check with the security.
Your Prime Minister said you have Kibalama. Up to now, he has never been put anywhere on trial.
You need to codify Kibalama who?
No, me, I know Kanata Muhammad. Kanata Muhammad, very known to me, who was former resident of Kabul.
No, at least the Prime Minister confessed. Does it speak to
you will ask her, you
gaps?
I saw you saying you are hosting her tomorrow morning. You will ask her.
Does that speak to gaps in communication, in cabinet?
No. That's why I'm saying which Kibalama, qualify the Kibalama who. Because
the Noop supporter who was picked and went incommunicado. The Prime Minister said there is a missing person called Kibalama.
But there was also Kibalama who escaped, who went outside for Cheyo, among those. Actually, many of those so-called political prisoners whom were raising that time went out of the country, and they are in Cheyo, especially in Canada. That I can say.
The Prime Minister said, you have Kibalama. Where is Kibalama?
I have to cross-check with the security to know which Kibalama exactly, because I don't have a track of all those people who were arrested. I have not got to know that this person was charged and this one was remanded. You have to cross-check. But you also need to give the full names of the Kibalama you are talking about. Because I don't think they have only one Kibalama in Uganda. There are many people who go by that name, Kibalama.
But this is the Kibalama in question. It's like when you talk about Barrio Mons. I have not heard any other Barrio Mons.
They are there.
Moses Kibalama, a member of the National Unity Platform, who went missing.
Do you have evidence that he went missing?
The Prime Minister came out herself and said, we have Kibalama. No, you're the spokesperson of government, aren't you?
No, a spokesperson is not God to know the whereabouts of each individual. I would have to cross-check with security, for instance. Like there are many prisoners in Ruzira, and you're asking me to name all those prisoners simply because I'm a government spokesperson.
Going ahead.
But also, that issue of political prisoners has just been hyped. You see inflated numbers and so forth. So it's just for politics.
Honorable Pendi.
And as far as we are concerned as government, that nomenclature of political prisoner is not accepted by government. Individuals are arrested on the
for their
basis
political
of suspicion
beliefs.
For crimes. No. You are opposition. Why haven't you been arrested? You.
I am a journalist.
No, a journalist, you mean you can't be arrested
The
as a journalist?
journalists who have been arrested.
You get arrested because there is suspicion that you have committed a crime. Not because you are DP or NRM or FDC or what. There are many members, these members are opposition. Have they arrested them?
Oh, I've been
Have you
arrested
been
several
arrested?
times.
Are you in
But
prison?
I'm not crying to you.
No. So, Ugandans are arrested on the basis of committing crime.
Well-
It could be true you commit a crime during a political season and you subscribe to some party or political persuasion,
you
but
put him
that
for
crime
5
you have
years.
committed that makes security arrest you, not the political party that you belong to.
Well, moving on, Honorable Saro Pendi, this is a time where I believe the formation of cabinet is taking shape. What kind of cabinet does Uganda deserve, given that this incoming term is widely described as a transition term?
First, allow me to thank the President for having led this country for the last 5 years peacefully. And moving forward, of course, the kind of government or cabinet that you guys would love to see is a cabinet that will actually, work for the people. And most importantly, the sticky issue that remains is the issue on corruption. The President has been speaking about that, and I really want to call upon the President as the head of state that let's move away from speaking about corruption and take action. The President is a consumer of intelligence information. He has all the information about the corrupt public officials, and let us stop the selective implementation
Thank you.
of this. Let's stop dealing with corruption in a selective way.
There's been more of stunts. You see the Prime Minister coming out to say, I'm the Majegere, she's on top of graders, she's doing ABCD all over the place. And to a great extent, it looked pleasant to the voters. How about we adopt that style? And why would you begrudge them?
Yeah, that's why my fear was that we are going to take that as the normal, the usual. And right now, if you put any prime minister, if you go to see all these bureaucratic institutions, usually, like the leader, especially the leader of government business, the prime minister would be coordinating his troops who are on the ground. However, because this kind of politics and the politics of President Yoweri Museveni, which has been good to stabilize the country, however, we cannot continue like this. We have to have institutions. That's why you see these people are strong. Now, Honorable Nabbanja is strong in Bunyoro. President Museveni all over. However, if you are going to build institutions...
What is politics after all?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, you have to play the balance between politics and then the establishment of institution for the future. And indeed, if you go in decent democracy, when a politician is in office, he looks beyond 5, 10 years, because all these people, like I respect Honorable Sarah up to now, because I've been following her work for maybe over 20 years from parliament in cabinet. You get it? Now, it would be unfortunate if she thinks she's working for her 5-year tenure. No, she's working for a legacy, and President Museveni is working for a legacy for himself, children, and the whole of this country. So definitely, if you just want to politic, you have your 5 years, you will do whatever you do, but history will then judge you. And indeed, that's why we are saying...
I think you're stuck in old politics.
No,
if, like you said, the new politics prescribes that you bring that caliber of fishermen to counter the new force on the block, why not?
You see, I'm in this program, I think, to balance. Not it could be, I'm here, they say, to say this is the best practice. However, if we want let our country be ruled by politicians who come and want. That's why I oppose this 5-year tenure thing of everything for 5 years. And in a way, this kingdom actually, which is being built even by politics, some of the Ugandans have now opted to sort of the kingdom establishment of individualism. And because then some of them think it will give us more sustainability, because we've moved away from the ideal of the 1986. The ideal of 1986 was there. And I was checking in the cabinet of 1986. And I was looking at, I was following up the values of those men. And many of them departed because of values. Actually, most of the people who departed from the cabinet since 1986 is because of upright values. And up to now, you journalists, go and interview these people. And you see everyone seems to agree that Uganda is regressing, it's moving backwards.
Honorable Lulume, when you're just walking in, Prof made a point that this is a cabinet that was brought on board to counter the narrative of the current opposition. Does this suggest a shift in politics, which you have not read yourself?
Well, I read, but I am also cognizant of the fact that President Museveni is a master of his game. I will not depart from what I described the fishermen cabinet as. It was a mobilizational cabinet, and that is what exactly President Museveni had lacked. Like he told not.
Yeah, but Honorable Pendi said they disproved the naysayers, and they have really performed to expectation.
Indeed, they have mobilized, they have been on the ground, no doubt about that one, but the cabinet was in autopilot. Even without them, things would move anyway. Because even questions that were asked could not get really answers, or even fixing problems. Many questions. Actually, the real tough questions could not even be tackled.
Mention one.
No. They are very
the okay. Camera and mention one.
One question.
Which was not answered.
What is the stock of public land that Buikwe or Uganda have that you know about? Stock of public land that you have.
Was it ever raised in the floor?
I raised it myself.
To who?
To the Prime Minister. Gave no answer, and then it was shielded and said, you know, when you are bringing such questions, you need to to give it time so that research is done. And nothing actually was done. Have I answered your question? Please. I am alert.
I don't remember you asking.
So,
I don't remember you asking.
but you have always been absent.
Okay, as we cross, national guidance has guided that the president is set to issue a statutory instrument guaranteeing the stay of ministers until after swearing in, right?
Until when a new team has been appointed and we hand over to those who are taking over our portfolios.
Well,
so there will be no vacuum. There will be no vacuum. The ministers are in office until when they hand over to the new ministers.
You've served under several cabinets.
Yes.
This time, you were lumped up as fishermen. How has it been for you being a fisherman this time?
Did you have a boat?
Well, first of all, the label fishermen and women, if you have to be gender sensitive, the president was meaning I have picked ministers who are from the ordinary folk, because these are the people you have voted for and have picked from people who resemble you. So don't give a wrong connotation. And by the way, it's a reference to biblical times when Jesus didn't look for professors and the elites and so forth, and picked ordinary people who were fishing to go and be fishers of men. And they did the good work. Up to today, Christianity remains strong after 2,000 years. So do not look at the label of fisherman in a derogatory sense. Fishermen are hands-on, and I think we have been hands-on. But I can say, one time I asked the president, why did you call us fishermen? He said, for you, you are Luke. Luke, the one who wrote the Gospel of Luke, was a doctor. I said, you are a doctor. And I think for him, it didn't come from the lake. He was not a fisherman. But in my view...
So you were treated with exception.
But in my view, we have done our best. First of all, the public needs to understand what is the role of cabinet before you assess whether cabinet has performed or not. Cabinet is part of the executive. These are ministers and ministers of state who are appointed by the president, approved by parliament to assist the president in the execution of government work, particularly implementing government programs. And we hold weekly cabinet meetings. We sit in parliament on the front bench to defend the government and explain the government policy. You should assess us from that perspective. And one quick way of measuring whether, for instance, this cabinet has performed, you can look at the elections. Because Ugandans voted looking at what the government has been able to deliver in these 5 years. And the results show the president scored over 71%. Parliament is largely NRM. The local governments are NRM. And therefore, you should credit the cabinet that has been supporting the president to execute these programs.
Okay.
In the parliament. We've been there explaining. And
on a number of occasions,
yes,
you've not made it to parliament to explain government programs. The absenteeism of the executive to defend government on the floor and to account has been quite telling, hasn't it?
Well, it's not only executive. I think parliament, especially in times when we are getting on the ground to campaign, usually absenteeism is noticeable. Yes, for the front bench, on both sides, but even the back benches. You have seen the parliament at times when it is almost empty. That one, it has been observed. But we've been attending a parliament and explaining government position. The prime minister has been there leading the troops on the front bench and explaining government policy and responding to questions from the honorable members of parliament. I don't think you can say we have failed to be there to answer questions. Don't say because you were labeled fishermen that we are unable to answer questions raised by members of parliament.
There have been quite a number of glaring moments where you've seen the prime minister clash with her team. Some of the infighting has made it to the public realm. What really caused this friction?
Well, of course, when you are managing a team that has people of different backgrounds, different persuasions.
It never used to be the case.
No. You see, these days maybe you can say we are too open with the media. The media is very nosy. It picks things which maybe in the past would not pick. But in any community, any society, where you are managing many people, those things happen. Because the way I behave with situations is different from the way Honorable Baiga may behave, the way. So those things happen, but maybe how you manage them. But unfortunately, for some of those, they leaked into the media. But I don't think those...
No, but there were the big hits. I'll give you an example. Yes. The clash between Honorable Mumba and the Prime Minister, the clash between Honorable Tafire and the Prime Minister, the clash between Honorable Hilary Onek and the Prime Minister.
The one of General Tafire and the Prime Minister was not correct. There was exaggeration in social media, but there wasn't that kind of outburst.
What was it?
No. It was not there as such.
No, what was it?
Because I was in the cabinet when there was like, we were discussing COVID. Then there was a disagreement in opinion, but not quarreling and fighting. But somebody who leaked the media just created the hyperbole and misled. Like the issue of Honorable Kasule Lumumba and the Prime Minister was to do with the delegations to New York. I think there was a delegation which was under the Vice President, where Honorable Kasule Lumumba and then another delegation was prepared, I think under Prime Minister. So there was just miscoordination, and then the thing just flared up. But we clarified it.
Yeah, but I think it spoke to...
But you wouldn't say that is...
It spoke to bad blood.
Not
You
really.
despised the Prime Minister from the onset.
Who?
Most of the team.
Not really. How? I don't think like those small incidences you are quoting would be the one to define how cabinet has functioned. They are just small incidences. But the Prime Minister, we respect her, and we have given her respect. And to me, she has done her best and coordinated very well, because the role of the Prime Minister is to coordinate the executive and be the leader of government business in Parliament, which role she has played very well in my view.
Yeah, but...
And it's so true that the members of cabinet disrespect her. She, at times, chairs cabinet. You see, the president is the chair of cabinet. In his absence, the vice president chairs. In the absence of the vice president, the prime minister chairs. And she chairs and she reads us very well.
Okay.
So those misgivings which you are giving, I don't know where you get them from. You seem just to be biased. Biased simply because the president said we are fishermen. You think fishermen can't deliver, but we are a team of fishermen and women that has delivered for you.
What kind of impression or what kind of picture does this cabinet create of the state of the nation, where the president goes to the extent of picking the most inexperienced, and he comes out boastfully and says, this is all I have?
What do you mean by inexperienced? Would you consider me as somebody who is inexperienced, myself, in your view?
That's why they chose you as Luke. The president preferred to call you Luke.
Why do you? This cabinet had members from different categories. In terms of demographics, we have young people, we have middle-aged people, we have the older persons, we have both women and men, and I think the president tries to balance as he constitutes cabinet to look at different dimensions. Our ethnic extracts, our educational levels and professional backgrounds, he balances all those. And we get a team which blends very well. And I think this team has been working and has delivered. It is a team which successfully handled the COVID, because we came in at the height of the COVID pandemic and we managed it. Would you say the Minister of Health has not done well as the Minister of Health, Dr. Jenda Cheng, leading us fight COVID, for instance? This is a cabinet.
She defied the rules. She was the first to defy the COVID rules, you remember?
So, and she's part of the fishermen cabinet. This is the cabinet that has ushered Uganda into a middle income status. You know that? This is a cabinet that has ensured that what was pledged in the manifesto of 2021 has been put in place and implemented, like the PDM was a major pronouncement by the government, the Parish Development Model, it is on, up and running, the Myoga programs, the money for roads, the 1 billion, all of these pledges made by NRM and the President Yoweri Museveni have been implemented, and the results are there. And that is why, like I said, Ugandans have been able to overwhelmingly vote for NRM, because they assess what has been implemented, and it is the cabinet that has been leading the execution of these programs. So the label of fishermen aside, in my view, we have delivered and the results are
You
there.
don't seem comfortable with that phrase of fishermen.
No, because this is what you are tagging as your flagship statement. As if when we labeled the fishermen, it meant, because I've been hearing saying, oh, we were just appointed to mobilize. Yes, we mobilize, but also we implement and deliver. You were criticizing the Prime Minister for being on the ground. So you should draw a difference. Is the best Prime Minister one who puts on suits and sits in office all the time? Or the best Prime Minister is one who sits in office, gets on the ground? Because we do monitoring and oversight as executive. When we pass money in the cabinet and the parliament, we have to get on the ground to see whether the money works. That's why I'm coming from Karamoja. When I go to supervise or to superintend of a function, I also assess other programs of government. So it's not correct to say the best prime minister is one who sits in office and does it. Honorable Nabbanja, right honorable, is a hands-on prime minister. Because she has been everywhere. And that's how you supervise and see whether government programs are being implemented.
Honorable Saropendi, is this the kind of lineup you would wish for the incoming cabinet?
That's a difficult question. You know that ministers serve at the pleasure of the president. So as the chief executive, it is within his powers to choose.
Or do you feel Ugandans deserve better?
No, you see, we already have a manifesto. And this manifesto is drawn from the National Development Plans that is actually running up to 20...
It's now NDP4.
Yes, NDP4. So already the plans for the coming years, the coming 5 years, has already been set. So all that the president now needs to do, actually it's not the ministers that implement, it is the technical officers. The ministers are political supervisors in those ministries. So even without the minister, work will still go on. So I just want to state that as far as I'm concerned, for example, now we just passed the budget for the next financial year. And activities that are supposed to be implemented are actually known by sector. So all that, even if a minister comes or not, we want to see government implementing those programs, including the standard gauge railway that we are all yearning for. And we want to see alternative means of transport in this country. There is over-reliance on the road. And earlier I talked about the various road accidents. So for me, I want to see that standard gauge up and running so that we free our roads and have goods transported.
Yeah, but you would appreciate that this cabinet has been extraordinary. No wonder we are discussing it. It's been unprecedented to see.
I have indicated that they have done their best within their ability. And I must credit them, because one thing that I left serving as a minister was my wish to see us having a contributory pension scheme as a country. And I'm glad that that piece of legislation, initially, of course, it was introduced, but it had serious challenges and was withdrawn.
Okay. Do you agree that these ministers lowered the bar for the ministerial mark?
Well, I don't know what you mean by lowered, because already they have delivered.
Remember the times where we had their mamas, the super ministers, described as the super ministers, and now we shift to fishermen and women.
Are you looking at the suits? Are you looking at the English? Are you looking at what exactly are you looking at? Because I have indicated that programs were implemented. He has talked about the PDM. For me, I'm looking at the legislation, which I'm proud of. I want to see that contributory scheme up and running, because there are so many pensioners out there who are actually suffering and crying because government does not seem to have enough money to pay everybody at the same time. So some get this month, next month he's off the payroll, others are not paid for some years. So when we have this contributory pension scheme, you contribute 5%, government puts in 10%, and when you retire, your money will be paid. Because you contributed. Actually, it's your money that government will invest.
Prof, does Honorable Dr. Baryomusi give clarity on where they came from and what they've done so far?
Maybe let me be positive to the ministers and to preempt those ministers who are coming in very excited. After 40 years of the NRM government, they know they are witnesses here. Some of them will not they will hide these things. Right now in the ministries, after all those 40 years, there are some people who are like kingmakers or untouchables who are in those ministries. they will say, my sister Sarah here, pending your Minister of Health. But as you go, as these people are excited to go to this ministry, there are some of those people who, some are cadres, some are relatives, who will not let you do your work. And if, especially since they are politicians, as you start looking at the politics, you are sometimes, like the incidents we talked about at the beginning, are forced not to do anything. Because, first of all, how can you be a minister and you cannot even reshuffle your immediate secretaries? These ministers, some of them are so weak to reshuffle just their office attendants. Because the moment you reshuffle some of them, then the next day you might resign and go. And some are afraid of saying some issues to the powers that be.
Do you want to suggest that the Baryomunses are powerless?
No, because they are powerless, because history has taught them. We have a professor who was called Masaba, first minister of veterinary. Then he was the first minister to flag off a red flag in parliament. And he said, you ministers, how are you operating? He saw most of them because they were just coming from the bush and they were rich. He said, where all of us are thieves, where do you get the money? And he was criticized in cabinet and he didn't last long. He didn't last 2 years, and that's where the history of corruption, which you see that this level, one thing we haven't analyzed in this talk show is the fact that about a third of the ministers were implemented in corruption, and it was evident.
Implicated?
Yeah, including the vice president, including the prime minister. Because in 1987, when Professor Masaba talked about corruption, and he didn't last. So it was a precedent that you don't talk about corruption. Actually, the silent agreement within the NRM cabinet is that we have to operate with corruption, but outside we condone it. So basically, the ministers are people who know that it is corruption which will help them attain or stay longer in their ministerial position. So, as they find some of these people in offices, like I've told you, the go-getters, the people who want to who have been there for long, and now the easy thing is that you play along.
Well,
so you don't oppose the status quo. So in that playing along, that's when I said they become powerless and move on with the corruption tendency and the culture of corruption in that ministry.
Honorable Ulume, one of the key moments and the key highlights of this cabinet are the scandals. Take, for instance, the Babati scandal. To what extent did it paint an ugly picture onto the cabinet and their ability to stay on regardless as ministers?
I got so surprised that scandal didn't stay for a very long time, and I praise President Museveni for shielding his cabinet of that major scandal, the mother of all scandals I have ever seen in the history of this country. It depicted backwardness, and I don't know why they couldn't resign, but maybe because they had already been painted as fishermen. But by the way, fishermen are good people, and they are very intelligent people, as I told you. And I felt embarrassed that a man like me, who is representing people who in fishing villages, you would call them fishermen in a derogatory manner. I know a man like Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, very brilliant person I have been with for a very long time. Actually, if at all it is not Chris Baryomunsi in that cabinet, not because you are here, it would easily qualify to be a fisherman cabinet. The point is, what power do our ministers hold? One who actually, the Minister for Fisheries, not only fears But even respects the permanent secretary who happens to be a soldier. Permanent secretary wields more power than the minister. Yet for us, we don't interact with permanent secretaries apart from when they come to defend their budgets. The person who must do the political accountability must be the minister. Therefore, he wields more power, even more than the secretaries they have. They must brief them. And briefing them, that is a power relation. But if at all you find a minister who cannot answer and wishes the permanent secretary should come and answer, then what power do they have? What about a minister who is going to wait for the appointing authority to answer a question in their docket? You'd wonder. Dr. Mariomos is here. I want to challenge him. Is there a minister who can do anything without a notice of the president? Or
like in what?
When the prime
like
minister, in their dockets, when the prime minister is chairing cabinet and you make those resolutions, can they really take root without really seeking permission from the president who didn't attend the meeting? Certainly not. You must read the mind of the president if at all anything must happen, and everything must be done in his name. That is why he must inaugurate, open this, open that, even when the ministers are available. This is what we see.
Honorable Bariomusi,
Powerless ministers.
how did you navigate or how did you put up with such a big scandal? 26 ministers were implicated in the Mabati scandal and they kept serving. Isn't that a bad mark on cabinet?
Implicated by who? You see,
Not even implicated. Found guilty.
first of all, professor, I don't know, is the professor in what?
Political science.
Gone are the days when the professors were professors, because he seems not to understand how government functions. He thinks the role of a minister is to transfer secretaries and so forth. That's not our major role. But let me
give information. What I said,
yes.
this constitution gives a minister a lot of power, like Honorable is saying.
Yes.
However, in practice, it is not the case. And Minister Opondo,
Which powers are you referring to?
Open.
Open.
Which powers? Powers to do what?
Yeah?
Powers to do what which we have not done.
Many times, we see you ministers, even when it is a small function where you would say, this ministry has done this for you.
Yes.
Many a times, we see everything the president has done this.
They are messengers.
They are messengers, exactly, official. Like there is authority which the people and the constitution
They
of
cannot
Uganda-
say government is this.
Exactly, they cannot say government, the president. So you
First
have.
of all, maybe you just have bias or phobia for the president. But the president
No.
is the head of government. The president is the one who appoints ministers. The president is the chair of cabinet. So for Honorable Baiga to say, we toy the president's line, what's wrong with that one? Because the president is the head of the executive. And therefore, we are not in the cabinet to rebel or to contradict the president. The way cabinet functions, Honorable Sarah has been in the cabinet, is that when issues come, first of all, we generate papers for cabinet as ministers, whether policies or bills or whatever business. And then we discuss exhaustively and generate consensus, which consensus now binds all ministers to have collective responsibility. When we go into the public, we must support and defend the position cabinet has taken. That's why you see me on the media center explaining to the public some of the decisions taken by cabinet. So don't expect the minister to come out and contradict the president and you think that's when the minister is strong. No. That one you need to understand. And I thought as a professor of political science, you would know that the minister is not expected to publicly contradict the president because we are there to give the voice of the executive. If you are contradicting him, you do it within the cabinet. And sometimes we disagree with him. But once cabinet has taken a decision, then it binds all of you as members. When we come to parliament, we must market that position. When we go into public, we market
just a quick one. What has cabinet agreed on transition, for instance?
transition, we have not discussed it. And the constitution is very clear on how transition is managed. Now, let me come to your question. The transition, if you want me to comment on it, the constitution is very clear. If, for instance, the president ceased to be a president, say by death, God forbid, then the vice president takes over. Then within 6 months, election is organized. It is in the constitution. If the president, for any other reason, is not running, then the parties will come up with the candidates and they will be nominated, and then we go into elections. So there is no confusion at all on the question of transition. I know you, the opposition, define transition to mean President Yoweri Museveni leaving power. That will be up to the NRM party whether to field him or field another candidate. But let me answer your question on Mabati. Now, we have discussed and explained this. Now, the Mabati saga, maybe for those who are hearing it for the first time, these are iron sheets meant for Karamoja with its specific challenges, and they are under the custody of the Office of the Prime Minister, the Department of Karamoja Affairs, which has 2 ministers, the Senior Minister and the Minister of State. So for, I don't know, whatever reasons, the ministers or the department decides to allocate these iron sheets to some ministers. Not some ministers. So you are here as a minister, you get a call from the Prime Minister's office that your constituency has been allocated 200, 500 or a number of iron sheets for your constituency. We know that the office of the Prime Minister usually has these items for disadvantaged communities. So ministers pick these iron sheets. And for me, the people I fault would be if you pick these iron sheets and use them for personal use, well knowing they are from government.
And that's exactly what Honorable Ugorobi did.
I don't know. Honorable Ugorobi explained that he put up, I think, a goat shed for, as a community project for youth. I don't think Honorable Ugorobi sleeps in a goat shed.
Did you find that plausible? A personal farm?
Well, he says it was for the youth project. That's what he explained. Now, so the people I would follow are those who pick the iron sheets knowing they are government property and then use them for personal use. Number 2, those who have questions, and maybe that's why Honorable Nanduto has been charged and convicted. If you are the ministers responsible for Karamoja, and you know these iron sheets are meant for Karamoja, but you decide to give them to members of parliament or ministers who are not from Karamoja. There they have questions to answer. But take an example, like I remember the Right Honorable Kadaga was explaining. The office of the Prime Minister allocates me iron sheets. I have a government health center in Kamuli, which was blown off by a hailstorm, and they have been wanting iron sheets. She takes iron sheets and roofs that health center. Would you say she has stolen? Would you say she's a thief? And I think it was on that basis that many of them were exonerated. If I have a school in Kanungu, a government school has been blown off, these members of parliament know the pressure that the constituents put on us. Okay. And you get those iron sheets from government and you use them to roof that government school.
Was it so big a scandal that it dented cabinet?
Well, of course, the media hyped it.
Hyped?
Yes, hyped it. But in essence, it wasn't. I'm looking at it from, you get iron sheets from government.
The iron sheets moved to the
you roof a government school.
Home.
You roof a government school. You roof a government health center. Would you take me as a thief?
No, I don't.
When I haven't sold them, I haven't used them for private gain.
I think the minister.
And that's why many of them who are named were cleared by the DPP.
For me, I think the minister in charge of national guidance should never sanitize this issue. Sometimes you need to take responsibility and say, we are sorry, Ugandans. After all, you are in government. You have said you performed very well and you got the most many votes. It doesn't cost you anything.
What I've explained, where have I lied? Where do you disagree with me?
Where I disagree with you,
Yes.
Honorable,
You say these are Mabati.
Yes.
Meant
You are-
for
first of all,
Karamoja.
Meant for Karamoja.
For Karachunas.
But they are not
For
labeled.
Karachunas.
No, they are not labeled Karamoja.
They
are
were.
labeled- No, they are labeled the office of the Prime Minister.
They were
Whatever it
labeled
is.
Karamoja.
No.
The procurement was done.
I'm saying no. You
and
put
it
the
was
picture there.
meant.
You put the picture and see whether it's
Okay,
saying office of the
I
Prime
am
Minister.
listening,
not Karamoja.
and I want to save you.
No,
respectfully.
I have no crisis to be
Because
saved.
I want your reputation.
It is
Because
intact.
Really.
I was never beneficiary of these iron sheets, so my reputation is intact.
But
You are not
please,
anything
don't
at all.
sanitize others.
No.
But as in charge of national
So are you saying the
guidance-
DPP is so daft that he cleared them, she cleared them
No,
when...
you see,
they had
when we
faced-
are talking about state capture of institutions, this is what we are talking about. President Museveni is managing politics the way you are trying to do it. But as a man that I know with integrity, you may not need to sanitize this. You say, we are sorry, this can happen. Nandu too has been sacrificed. But I think we can even redress that. And you proceed.
and let me
Because
give
we are
you
used to that
information. In
anyway.
decent democracy,
You cannot talk about
even
a man.
if you are not
Just a minute.
directly involved.
A man in the Minister for Finance tells you, and she came to my place. I don't know how they walked. Then a Prime Minister, then a Speaker of Parliament. Then you cannot feign. You cannot feign a lack of knowledge where these iron sheets were coming from. Incidentally, did they request for them? Be it Kadag. Did she ask for those iron sheets?
But I've told you
You
how
said they were
I
allocated?
think I
How
don't
do
know
they
why-
know the number?
Honorable Pendi, you want to?
I
Please.
don't know why we are extending this. Because I think that was a scandal. We must agree it was a
No,
scandal.
the minister says, explains, goes to an extra mile to explain.
No, what I want
How
to say...
okay it was.
To sanitize.
No, there
the
was a
scandal.
scandal, of
Yeah.
course. And I think, and some of the ministers actually returned these iron sheets. If the iron sheets were actually given to them and they were supposed to have taken them to
those who had not
the
used
school
them, they
or
were...
wherever, some even bought the iron sheets and actually returned them. So that was a scandal. There is
Another
no
one
question
got
about
them
that.
from the shed.
Let's only agree that such should not happen. Honorable Chris, I was with you in the Ministry of Health. We didn't carry mosquito nets and take to allocate to ourselves to go and distribute. What happened is that these mosquito nets arrive at the district. Just like the iron sheets and other items, the district must know that so many iron sheets have been brought and...
Procedurally.
Yes,
But you also know that the NADs used to give us maize seeds to take to constituencies. Why are you not condemning that?
Well, but
Yes, so there has been that practice where at times items are allocated to members of parliament to deliver. That has been happening.
allow me...
That these were iron sheets for Karamoja, not
Allow
for
me,
everywhere.
Honorable
Yes.
Chris Variomonsi, I think that matter is not disputed. The president even wrote on this matter regarding the iron sheets and asked the ministers, if you know that you took these iron sheets, which were meant for a particular area, return them. And those who did not take them to schools or churches or for community use actually returned them.
That's true.
And yes, like Honorable Rugorobi.
So
The iron
it gave
sheets-
them a bad tag.
Yes, and what we must also accept is that there was money allocated and these iron sheets were procured using that funding. Remember that Parliament carried out this investigation and there is a report to that effect. So once you have monies allocated for a particular specific activity, for example, this money was meant to purchase. There were even goats, by the way. You're not talking about the goats. There were goats, there were iron sheets. So this money was meant to procure these items, to take...
And these things are debated in
Yes.
cabinet.
Yes, but the,
To
as
take
a
to
receiving
Karamoja.
minister,
Variomonsi should
Let
apologize.
us not,
please.
you know,
as a receiving minister, how would he or she know that is the other budget and so forth?
No, but
There are
I
people
thought
who
you
in-
know
there are
how
people-
things are gotten from the
there are people who
Prime
innocently
Minister's
received.
office.
Yeah, there are, no, like I may learn that there are iron sheets being given. I have churches in my community. I will write to the Prime Minister. And when I'm allocated, I think those you cannot now, hold me.
But actually,
for
it is
having
even wrong.
Not
to say
in the
that
dead
I am
of the
allocated.
night. Someone calls and tells you, come and
It is
pick.
even wrong to say that when I am allocated, when a certain project is allocated,
No,
because
no, no, okay.
you write on behalf of a
Yes.
certain project. It's a
Okay,
school.
following your
Which could have
letter,
lost.
yes, I get a response to my letter. You can't fault me for that. And that's why from the 26th, we saw that I think they zeroed on only 3 of the ministers who were at fault. The others were actually innocent. They had
they were not innocent, because their ethics even agrees that these ministers, by the way, are supposed to declare even gifts. So we've derailed as a country, we've lost our value, that even the Minister of National Guidance can misguide the nation, that these unethical issues are a common practice. Like you've heard him say, that this is a common practice, we should follow this kind of route, and this is how, I'm telling you, the previous cabinet has derailed from focus that now things which are abnormal are being normalized.
So are you saying the DPP doesn't know her work? Because she has now since become
been
a
captured,
principal
she has
judge.
even been
Are you
transferred.
saying she doesn't know the law, or she didn't know what to do by clearing all those other ministers?
We are saying there are many faults in the
Are you
system.
saying you are more competent on the matters of law
Not-
and corruption?
not
than,
myself.
Than her team,
We are
than
saying
the
there are
DPP's
many faults.
office? So why
Okay.
do you
System.
think?
Okay.
Why do you think some
Okay.
were prosecuted and others not?
Do you want to carry this as one of the legacies of the outgoing cabinet?
No.
Scandal after scandal.
No.
Theft.
I am insisting that the fault largely lies with those who were
responsible.
having custody of the iron sheets. They knew their destination, but for some reason they chose to give them to constituencies which are not in Karamoja.
Yeah, but it's now haunted all of you.
No, I'm not.
This is a cabinet that is tainted
we are not
by a
haunted.
scandal
Do you
of that
see any haunting on
magnitude.
my face? Do you see me wanted by it? No.
No, you're defending.
doesn't
Your
mean-
role is to defend. You're doing your role.
No. It's to explain and
The rationale.
clarify to the public and say there is a reason why some were prosecuted and others were exonerated.
Honorable, you find it rational that someone should steal iron sheets made for Karachunas
No, I
in
have asked you, I
Karamoja?
have asked you that if the office of the Prime Minister has allocated iron sheets and those iron sheets are used to roof a government facility, would you call that person
That's
a thief?
misappropriation.
In your heart of hearts,
If it is funds.
would you call that person a thief?
It's misappropriation, isn't it?
By who? Whom do you blame?
They use,
The taker
who knows?
and the giver.
No, you see,
The
office
giver
of
and the
Prime
taker in
Minister
this case
is known
are
as
culpable.
the office which has relief items. And that's why, like Honorable Sarah
Is that
said,
the modus in which you get things
that's
from
why
the
Honorable
office of the
Sarah
Prime
has
Minister?
said, members of parliament, where you are approached this, there was a storm which has ravaged this, and we write to the office of Prime Minister to provide those items.
Okay.
Actually, relief
Those
items are not should not even be provided to
Okay.
individual members
Okay.
of parliament or even ministers.
How-
There are ways in which disasters are managed. There are disaster management committees at the district level, and they get their information from the sub-counties or parishes where this has happened.
But
And there is a conduit, there is a way the movement of those relief items
It's coordinated.
happen. Not through you directly. As a member of parliament, I have resisted that kind of temptation myself because I know how government should work. So for me, Honorable Dr.
Are you very
Mario Munsi
sure?
is my friend,
Yes.
and I want to insist the NRM government owes Uganda an apology because they set a very bad precedent, a very bad example, and you still propound this kind of example to the rest of the
They're
people
going to think
who
DP.
respect you and want to
They're
continue
going to think
to respect
DP,
you.
which you belong to.
DP, you took
is in
it
the
over
partnership-
and you should
is in the
even
partnership
apologize.
with the NRM
Me, I'm in
government.
PS.
Yeah, but-
Look at the color.
Okay, how do you get off this legacy that has come to haunt you as part of the record of the cabinet?
Who tells you it is haunting us? It is you who is haunted. We have moved on.
They have-
we have delivered for Ugandans.
Isn't that being shared?
They have a
Errors.
shared
Those
conscience.
errors were rectified, like Sarah said, those who still had iron sheets, were requested to return
have
them
a
and they
shared
did.
co-
and
But they
we
were
have moved
researches,
on.
were they?
We have moved on.
They returned them.
So, if you think it is a huge scandal, it is just in your mind that it is.
They have a shared
But in the
conscience.
minds of Ugandans, it's not a big deal.
When you're looking at the mixed legacy of this outgoing cabinet, it looks more like the scandals, the incompetences, the clashes have outshone the good things. True or false?
I already said that I will not answer that one.
Why are you being too
Because
cautious?
it is no, because it depends on how you look at it. Because I already said that there are so many good things. PDM has actually been, I must say for me, the PDM has overshadowed all other programs. All other, yes, all other programs of government. And for me, the PDM is something that has gone out to save the ordinary rural person who had never benefited directly from this government. Remember, we've had so many other programs, right from even a Myoga, but the ordinary person would actually not receive this money. We've had other programs, I forget the very first one, where government would send money to the district, even under WEP, the Uganda Women's Entrepreneurship Program. But the money would remain hanging at the district level. And it was only the connected who would get this money. But for PDM now, you find a woman...
Is it pegged on cabinet? Is PDM pegged on cabinet, you think?
Yeah, because it's cabinet that passed it.
Government policy.
It was government policy. It's cabinet that actually came up with this whole program. From the Myoga, we felt that a Myoga was, for a certain class and restricted to particular enterprises. Now we said, instead of these monies, for example, WEP, you want to help the other person who can't go to the bank to actually borrow. This person wants to do some business, needs maybe capital of just 500,000 or 200,000. Why don't we actually go and empower them with this 1 million shillings? And that is how you now see. By the way, there are very many success stories out there.
Thank you.
People who have actually benefited and are
Prof,
doing well today.
Beyond the roses that Honorable Barrio Musi seems to paint of the cabinet, what kind of politics has this cabinet ushered into the Ugandan political landscape?
Yeah, before I come to that, I want to give them credit. The PDM, on ground, have done personal research. Ordinary people are getting that money. However, the evaluation of PDM is going to be after about 4 years, especially when that payback period is. Then we'll know if it was PDM or it was
the
just...
PDM, the payback has already started.
Yeah,
It's 2 years.
But is it complete?
Yeah,
Then we'll want to calculate the
nobody
return.
has paid a shilling.
That's when
Somehow
I
we'll
will,
find
as a
it.
researcher,
True, people are paying back.
we'll evaluate you on that. But back to your question. Given that I have to give them credit for the PDM, generally, the truth is...
The kind of politics that this cabinet has ushered, because they were hands-on, you've seen the likes of Balam intervening in negotiating the rescue, or rather the release of political prisoners. You've seen Nabbanja on the matter of Kibalama.
Yeah, the evaluation is that this was not a normal cabinet. President Museveni did it to counter, he's a midterm man, he had to counter NUP. And because he saw NUP, they are organizational, they are ghetto people, that's why he brought a fisherman cabinet. In him, his understanding, it's not the best. These are not technocrats. They are just to counter. He used sort of a military kind of tactic to counter NUP. And on that,
they've succeeded, right?
They've succeeded. But he knows it is not a normal cabinet. And this time round, I don't think he should deploy to Uganda such a cabinet, because there is not now maybe a ghetto threat or something like that. If he's interested in legacy, then he should look at, because the legacy is for President Museveni, is for Minister Baryomunsi, is for Minister Sarah. It is Uganda will put you in history. If you're interested in that legacy, then let the president not deploy a fisherman cabinet again. Most of you've said you are Dr. Rook. You've confirmed. I'm telling, largely, if you go to see the cabinet from, I've done an evaluation from 1986. This have been an abnormal cabinet, including even Amin's cabinet. They were more thorough than this one.
Honorable Chris, you'd give us a contrast. Yes. How do you contrast between the Amama cabinet, or the Ruhakana Rugunda cabinet, and the Nabbanja cabinet?
Well, each cabinet makes its contribution and moves on. And well, I don't have a yardstick to say this one scored 60, this one scored this. But for anybody to say we are not technocratic, and you think all of us have not gone to school, I may start doubting your competence also to do the assessment. You must first of all understand what cabinet is supposed to do, and then you assess it. How have we brought bills to Parliament?
How do you compare?
We initiated the policy?
How do you compare the Nabbanja cabinet to the Amama cabinet?
Well, the difference would be that the Right Honorable Nabbanja has been hands-on. In addition to sitting in office, she goes out to supervise government programs. She's been in Western Nile, she's been in Karamoja, she's been in Chigezi, she has been, which to me is a plus. Is a plus. And
isn't that for the cameras? Isn't that for the cameras?
No. You see, we sit in the cabinet, approve a budget. We bring it to Parliament, Parliament appropriates. This money goes to districts. You can't just sit in Kampala. So we have sent the money to Kanungu, to Kisoro, to Yumbe. It is not enough. A prime minister who goes to Yumbe and Karamoja and says, the money we have passed, is it reaching? Is it doing the right thing? What are the people saying? I think Honorable Nabbanja, in my view, has done very well.
Well, as we take a break, we would love to share with you some of the moments where Honorable Nabbanja and Honorable Semujunganda had their moment. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, the procedural issue I even raised it when the Speaker said the Deputy Speaker will go to the war. We signed a contract and the Minister of Health was supposed to represent Uganda. The Honorable Ruth Acheng, a medical person, and her team went there, they were chased. The contract was now put under the Prime Minister and the Honorable Robin Nabbanja, who I respect, but she's not a medical person. Can we be told why health? Because I was in this Parliament when we are adopting this resolution and said health will represent us. It was chased. Now the Prime Minister said, I am a Catholic, me, I went there. Did we ask you to go and represent us?
Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, I feel Honorable Semuju should be educated that I am the lead of government business in Parliament. Under Article 108, I'm not an intruder in this house. And so, I represent you, even you, Semuju. Yes, I'm not quarreling, but I thought I should educate my brother.